What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, let's get started. With Paddy Pimblett breaks silence on Justin G loss. This past weekend, we saw Paddy Pimblett suffer his first UFC loss, and now he has officially broken his silence. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. After the fight, we reported on Paddy's wife posting a message reassuring everyone that he was healthy and okay. Now, Paddy has addressed it himself on social media with the following post. Hope everyone enjoyed my fight just as much as I did. Want to thank everyone that came to support and everyone watching at home. I'm all good. No injuries. Went into the fight feeling amazing. Had a great camp and an easy weight cut. No excuses. The better man won on the night. Justin Gee, congratulations, brother. It was an honor to share the cage with such a legend. Go get that undisputed title. Your career deserves it. Hopefully we can run it back for the undisputed, because I still know it's in my destiny to win that gold. UFC, thank you for the opportunity. You all know I'll be back for that belt in the near future. After that post, Paddy's wife, Laura Pimblett, shared updated photos of Paddy's face following the fight. As you can see, he's pretty bruised up. Gee, definitely did some damage there. Props to Paddy for surviving that one. And Arman Tsarukyan tells the UFC to cut Paddy Pimblett. Speaking of that fight, it looks like Arman Tsarukyan enjoyed watching Justin Gaji beat Paddy Pimblett in a recent appearance at the Ariel Helwani show. Arman said that Paddy needs to take 6 years off from MMA and that the UFC should cut him. I was enjoying every moment when he went. The gauge clipped him. You hate him that much? Yeah, I was happy because now you can see like why they put that trash can there. He never deserved to be there. Paddy Pimblett, he has zero MMA skills. He has a chin and that's it. He has zero technique, to be honest. Oh my God. Was there anything that impressed you? Scared? Yeah, I got impressed when Paddy fall 15 times. He needed to take a break for 6 years after the fight. So bad for his brain. He was stupid. Now he's like going to be crazy. Even crazy. I would like to see cut him out. Okay, worst UC fighter. Well, he's so bad. But like this trash can. He's zero fighter. Arman Tsarukyan offering to buy Ilia Topuria's house. Arman also reacted to the Ilyosha situation we covered yesterday. If you missed it, Tapatoya's house was put up for sale, and it looks like Arman is ready to step in and buy it if he agrees. Arman Tsarukyan could move down to 145 and fight for belt to fight him. Talking about Arman, let's move on to Alexander Volkanovski reacts to Arman Tsarukyan comments. As we mentioned earlier, Arman appeared on the Ariel Helwani show. During the interview, he made a pretty surprising comment saying that he might even consider moving down to featherweight, considering everything that's happening. At lightweight, yeah, you heard that, right. Apparently, Arman talked to his coach and they ran the math. And 145, he said, is actually a possibility for him. Right now, Arman says he walks around 175 lbs, but he plans to adjust his diet and increase his cardio so that he can walk around closer to 165 and make the cut to featherweight. He also noted that the UFC would have to tell him within the next 2 to 3 weeks for it to be realistic for June. I'm not getting GI. I'm not getting anybody. I'm going to try to get the title 145. Can you make 145? Yeah, I talked to Coach K, so we did the math, everything. So my body can go to 145. He's saying it's not easy, but it's we can make it happen. We need, if it's fight in June, if we going to, no, like in 2-3 weeks that we are fighting in 145, we will make it happen. So I got to walk around. So on the math, I got to walk around like 163, 162. Well, Alexander Volkanovski reacts to Arman Tsarukyan comments. With it being UFC 325 fight week, it didn't take long for a reporter to ask Volkanovski about Arman possibly moving down to chase the 145 lb belt. During media day, Vog said he'd welcome it, adding that he'd love the challenge Arman would bring to a fight. Arman Tsarukyan was on Ariel's show and said he wants to drop to 45 and fight for the title. Curious if you have any thoughts on Arman potentially trying to cut that sort of weight and fighting you and what that could do. Yeah, I mean, like, I love challenges. He would obviously be a tough challenge if he could get down there. That would be definitely a tough challenge. Same with Maza. Obviously, Maza are good. Like, even the wrestling side of things, like, I'd love that because for the legacy you going to talk about legacy, you got guys like Mob's undefeated. So later, obviously. I've got a job to do this weekend, but whatever comes my way, I'll be happy. But Mozart Lone, incredible records, or even Arman if he was to come down. Like, yeah, that's a challenge. So that'll be definitely something. And I feel like my takedown defense is pretty solid. So that'll definitely be a fun month. Arman Tsarukyan next match for RAF6 revealed. Speaking of Arman, we finally have his next opponent booked under RAF. It was revealed that Arman will be taking on Giorgio Poulos at RAF6 on February 28th. Manel Kape, Joshua Van continue to go back forth. UFC updates. With UFC 325 Fight Week underway, let's take a look at what's happening in the UFC. We'll kick it off with an update on the whole Minnow Cop and Joshua Van beef. For those that don't remember, a couple days ago, following UFC 324, we reported Van and Cop going back and forth on social media. We ended it with Van revealing that Cop didn't sign a contract for the two to fight and then proceeded to call him a well. Since then, we've gotten more context as to why Van is calling out Cop for not signing the contract. He went on X and wrote, "Let me explain what this idiot is talking about. First of all, there was never a contract. Second, the UFC considered me fighting Joshua last Saturday to replace the Kayla versus Amanda fight, but they told me only 1 week before. And obviously, there's no way I'd make weight in 1 week, LOL. And if I miss weight, I'd be more frozen than Armanukian. Let's do things the right way. What kind of contract are you talking about, you? I know you're an individual with significant intellectual limitations, so I'll give you a discount if you want me to sign a contract. Let's sign it for March 7th. And it looks like Joshua Van is down to throw hands on March 7th because he responded to co-priding March 7th. Let's do it. UFC Tata, stay ready. In case boy come up with another excuse. UFC fighter pulls out a fight, new replacement. Now let's move on to a UFC fighter pulling out of a scheduled fight on March 14th. According to MMA Fightings, GM Cruz Kennedy and Zachuku is out of his matchup against Vitor Petrino. The good news is that the UFC already found a replacement. Stephen Aspund is stepping in to face Petrino. For anyone who doesn't know, Aspund earned a contract on Dana White's Contender Series back in September. Since then, he's picked up a win in the UFC, scoring a standing TKO over Sean Sheriff in December, which earned him a Performance of the Night. Rose Namajunas reveals sad news on health. Bonus. Next, we'll shift over to Rose Namajunas. Yesterday, it was revealed that Rose had to undergo eye surgery following UFC 324 after suffering 2 eye pokes. According to Rose, she needed a repair for a canalicular laceration, and her recovery honestly sounds like a nightmare. She'll have to keep a tube in her eye for 3 months, and she says she won't be able to sneeze or blow her nose. Wishing you a speedy recovery. Rose. All right, guys, I'm heading into surgery, canalicular tube surgery. Yeah, I got poked in the eye a few times in a fight. So yeah, but my tube is torn, so it's gonna be repaired right now, and I'm gonna have a silicone tube in my eyes. So 3 months, yeah, 3 months. So pray for me, guys, and yeah, I'm just glad we can get it fixed. All right, and Alexander Volkanovski opened up on his age and sent the warning to UFC featherweights who think that his age is a factor, saying that he might be a 37-year-old, but he's still better than these other guys. Volk said, "You need to be calculated, especially at this point in my career. You better be doing it right because things can go bad if you're not doing it right at 37 years old. I'm happy to talk about that. I love that pressure. I want people to think I'm old. I'm old, but I'm still better than these guys." Conor McGregor ready for UFC White House. Conor McGregor ready for UFC White House. Conor McGregor released new footage showing off his training in preparation for UFC White House. In the footage, Conor says that he is coming back 100 and hinted that in his previous camps he wasn't fully engaged. In the training, oh yeah, seriously, I'm way better at this camp, 100%. This is, yeah, we're going in here 100%. I'm going into this. Fight 100 Conor McGregor, not 92. 100% Conor McGregor. So it has to be really meticulous. We were right there with the last one. As a unit, we do it. Conor does seem more focused now than ever. It's possible that his spiritual journey out in Tijuana with the psychedelics might have done the trick in reprogramming his brain off of his bad habits and got him back focused on training. While fans push back on his actual sparring footage, it is a step in the right direction for Conor. One fan wrote, "Great salesman, but nobody beats. Aging use and hedonism. He was done 2 years ago, so hope they give him an easy fight because he's not competing near the top anymore." Another fan believes Conor is serious this time, writing, "I honestly believe he comes back this time." And this fan agreed, saying, "He looks focused somehow. I believe he wants it now. I hope I'm not wrong." Another pushbacked on his claims, writing, "Why would he have to emphasize, I'm going into this 100% so much if it were the truth? Don't think it's going to end well if he fights anyone other than Michael Chandler." So, what do you think? Will Conor actually make his comeback this time, or will he fall back into the pits and continue his downward spiral? Let us know your thoughts in the Dana White UFC covering costs for UFC White House comments below. Speaking of the White House, Dana White said that the White House card will be completely funded by the UFC and won't use any taxpayer dollars to pay for the event. Dana said, "No, we're eating the whole thing." So, yeah, it's going to be a historic one night. And just like I talked about, with the Sphere, we're going to make the Sphere look like ashtray money. The ellipse is going to be incredible. The setup over there, we're going to have a stage. We're going to have some concerts over there. Everybody will be able to watch the fight on the big screens. And as we lead up with press conferences, fighter signings, and interactions with the fans, it's going to be an international fight week in Vegas. It's going to be that type of stuff going on in Washington all week. While the actual cost of the event wasn't disclosed, one could imagine how much it'll be if the $20 million Sphere event will look like ashtray money in comparison. Hopefully, the fighters on the event will be compensated fairly in return. Circling. Conor McGregor showed up to Paddy Pimblett's house. Back to Conor McGregor, Dan Hooker revealed that he went up to Paddy Pimblett's house after Paddy was talking trash to him online, and Paddy never came outside. Here's what Dan had to say: is that common knowledge that Conor heel about Conor McGregor, and then Conor McGregor drove around to his house? He drove around to his house and he sat outside in his car calling the bloke, and Paddy refused to come outside. That tells you all you need to know about a guy. Do you think that story is true? It seems like Conor never leaves the house without a camera crew or some documentary crew recording his whole day. So how could something like that slip through the cracks? If that is recorded and the footage gets released, the MMA community would have the time of their lives watching that clip. Kamaru Usman calls out Islam Makhachev for title fight. Usman calls out Islam Makhachev for title fight. Michael Morales, Ian Gary, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Nope. Kamaru Usman believes that he is the one who deserves the title shot next against Islam Makhachev. In a recent interview with Mike Bond, Kamaru said that he thinks that he is the biggest test to Islam in the welterweight division. No, there's been no conversations, but, it's not a secret how I feel about Islam. I like Islam. I think he's a great, great champion, but I also feel that I am the best in the division for him. And it's almost kind of weird and surreal that I'm having to sell myself on my skill level, on who I am and what I've done in the sport. So it's a little weird, but that's the name of the game right now. It's what have you done for me lately? So, hopefully the UFC sees that and gives me that opportunity for me to go out there and show them once again that I am still the best in the world. When do you hope to just have some answers about what's next in your future? I have no idea. But when it comes to me, I think the UFC knows, I've always delivered for them. I think they know whether if it's 4 days, whether it's 6 days or 2 weeks, I'm the guy to call. So we'll see. With Morales, Rakhmonov, and Ian Gary, all arguably more deserving of a title shot, do you think that the UFC will give the shot to Kamaru over them? Do you think that a win over Walking Buckley should propel him to title contention? The last time we saw Usman fight before the Buckley match was way back at UFC 294 in 2023 when he lost a close fight against Hamza Chimaev. Clearly, he's not the most active fighter, and on top of that, he didn't even take down an opponent in the top 5. When he beat Buckley, Buckley was only ranked number 6. Regardless, JDM is still the number 1 ranked contender at welterweight, and it looks like the UFC isn't interested in a rematch between JDM and Islam. So it is definitely a possibility that we see the next title contender fight JDM first for the official number 1 contender spot. then go on to fight Islam. Or on the flip side, while the UFC sets up the contender fight, they book Usman versus Islam for the White House card. But like we always say, only time will tell. Dana White suspends UFC fighter for PEDs. White suspends UFC fighter for PEDs. Last night, the Combat Sports Anti-Doping Agency revealed that UFC fighter Yasmin Becerra accepted a 9-month suspension for violating the rules. Yasmin tested positive for Malone, which is an anabolic used for performance enhancement, mainly to increase muscle density and strength, and also reduces water retention, giving a more lean look. CSAD released a statement on the violation and wrote, Lucindo Becerra tested positive for the presence of misterolone, a prohibited at all-time substance in the class of anabolic agents on the UFC prohibited list from an out-of competition sample collected on September 24, 2025 in Feira de Santana, Brazil. Upon notification of this adverse analytical finding from the laboratory, the UFC immediately removed Lucindo Becerra from her scheduled bout on December 13, 2025. In Las Vegas, Nevada, Yasmin is 5-2 in the UFC, most recently coming off a win to Angela Hill back in August of last year. And that'll wrap up our video today. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a video. We'll see you all tomorrow.